What does it mean if Ireland's biggest residential landlord decides to sell up? Will it mean more supply onto the market? Is it a sign of a crash to come? Will it mean cheaper houses for the average buyer? And why are they even considering selling at the moment? When I am referring to Ireland's biggest residential landlord, I'm referring to I Res REIT. Technically speaking, the state would be Ireland's biggest landlord. I Res REIT wouldn't be the biggest private landlord in Ireland in terms of value, but I Res REIT would control the largest number of apartments, and I think about nearly 4,000 at the moment, with an occupancy level around 98%. I Res REIT have apartments all over Dublin. I think they have an apartment block down in Cork as well. They acquired most or the majority of these apartments between perhaps 2014 and 2018 or thereabouts. They also acquired some development land around the same time, which they built some new apartment complexes on that land as well. But the question is, why would they be considering selling now, and what does it mean for the wider property market? On a sidebar earlier today, I did ask Instagram what video I should make. I gave 4 options: this video, bidding war tips, tokenization of real estate in Ireland, and what is the likelihood of a commercial property crash at the moment. The commercial property crash is winning out in terms of votes at the moment. But in fairness, to give that, I suppose, video everything that it deserves and do it justice, I think I need to put some notes together before I make that video. So I will do that over the next few days and hopefully get something out in the next week or two. So if you are interested, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Also, please help out the channel by liking this video and add your comments below. They're very much appreciated. So on with this video. REITs were introduced to Ireland in 2013. They were an attempt to bring in investment capital into the Irish market, so commercial real estate didn't have to rely on bank lending, and it would create a more diverse investment real estate market in Ireland. However, since 2013, only 4 listed REITs have been established in Ireland, to my knowledge, and I think only one of them still remains as a listed REIT, and that is I Res REIT. Green REIT, a commercial REIT, was sold up in 2019, if I recall, because the board of directors realised that the asset values that they were holding were more valuable than the share price, and they decided to sell. I think the same can be said in 2022 when Hibernian REIT had a similar situation and they decided to sell as well. Now there's a shareholder in I Res REIT that has a 5% stake that is looking for the board to be replaced and to sell because dividends and share values are not what they should be, and they believe the board has mismanaged the REIT. Higher interest rates have led to weaker dividends, and shareholders are calling for the sale, and they are also referencing the sale of the Green REIT and Hibernian REIT as some good reasons why to sell. It has been reported that the I Res board will be advising shareholders that now is not a good time to sell, and perhaps they might be right because they've perhaps missed the boat a little bit already. Green REIT was mainly an office portfolio and was sold before COVID. Hibernian REIT was sold just before interest rates started to rise, so both of them got out at good times. The same can't be said about I Res REIT right now because interest rates are higher, which tends to lead to a weaker REIT share price. The rental caps will impact the long-term residential value of these assets. And the I Res REIT board may be right in terms of now is not the ideal time to sell because they probably missed the boat already. However, regardless, it still might be in the shareholders' best interest if the REIT is acquired and turned into a private fund for a few reasons. First off, regardless of what media, social media or some TDs might have to say about the tax benefits of REITs, listed REITs have been unsuccessful in a major way in Ireland. It may have seemed like a great idea in 2013 to bring in capital and also provide for a stable investment market, but the rules around listed REITs in Ireland placed major restrictions on them, including the percentage of dividends they had to pay out, their leveraging rules, and added major costs in terms of hiring solicitors and accountants to complete quarterly reports, adding huge costs to perhaps what are low yielding investment properties that can't cover all these costs. And they are just some of the reasons why listed REITs have failed in Ireland over the last few years or why they've been sold off. I Res REIT also has a number of apartment development sites, but due to planning delays and increased costs of construction, they're now being forced to sell some of those sites off. So rather than actually growing their portfolio as they should be, the board are now proposing to sell off assets, and perhaps at a discount, which will have a major impact on the share price as well. So when you add up all the pros and cons and all the additional legal and reporting costs for running a listed REIT, particularly a residential REIT where you have rental caps of 2%, the long-term future value of those assets are not going to be ideal. And if you're not building more units by buying more development sites and increasing the portfolio size, instead you're actually engaging in selling off some of those development sites, perhaps it is not in the shareholders' interest to stay as a REIT, and perhaps the structure needs to change and does need to go into a private market. Holding the portfolio in a private fund would allow for more dividends to be held and reinvested into new projects. It would also allow for legal and reporting costs to be cut considerably, and it would also alter some of the decision-making processes as well. So if the shareholders do agree to sell, what does it mean for the market? Will this supply come to the market for the average buyer? I have had comments on some other videos, and other commentators have kind of mentioned that as interest rates are rising, it will force many of these institutional investors to sell their residential portfolios, and this will free up more supply for the normal buyer. And they've also suggested that this will cause prices to crash as well. I just don't see this happening. The likelihood is some preferred bidders will be invited to bid, and the likelihood is another institutional investor will buy the REIT outright and take control of the apartments. And supply to the public will not be impacted in any way. What the market will be really interested in is knowing what yield investors will be willing to pay for this REIT. The appetite won't perhaps be as strong as it was in 2022 before interest rates really started to increase, but there will be some interested institutional investors still out there looking to buy portfolios like this. Perhaps they will be looking to try buy it at a discount, and perhaps the market, with market caps in place for these residential units, will scare off some investors, but others may see this as an opportunity. I believe if this sale was to go through, it indicates the failure of REITs and not a market failure or the start of a property crash. Will the sale mean more supply or cheaper housing? It's likely the opposite. A weak yield paid for the REIT will result in less development or investment in new housing stock, reducing supply even further for the rental market, putting even more pressure on the private market. If a good yield is achieved for the REIT, perhaps there might be some hope for more investment into the market. I would be surprised if a sale of this nature had any real impact on the housing market, regardless if it's the largest landlord in the country in terms of per number of apartments that they hold. REITs, by their very nature, are not highly leveraged, and therefore there should be no issue with repayment capacity, and there should be no systemic issues. Most people likely never heard of the sale of Green REIT or the Hibernian REIT, and the only reason why this sale might actually get some media attention is because it's residential. However, the legal framework and the sale will happen the same way as the other REITs, and housing supply will not be impacted in any major way or impacted at all. Let me know if you think this sale will actually happen or not. At the moment, it's only one shareholder that holds a 5% that's pushing the sale. It may not happen, but let me know what your thoughts are on it in terms of, will the sale actually happen? Will it have any impact on the market just from a sentiment point of view? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.